During White Ribbon Month, we are reminded that change happens when people, especially men, use their voices to challenge harmful attitudes, support survivors, and model healthy relationships. Malcolm's willingness to share his story is a powerful example of that commitment. Before we begin, I also want to acknowledge that conversations like this can bring up difficult emotions or memories for some people. If tonight's message affects you in any way, please know that support and resources are available. Before Malcolm speaks, we are going to watch a short clip from a 48 Hours episode entitled Love to Death, which details Lauren's story. We will then watch a video Lauren's family made so you can get to know Lauren.
Go on, leave me breathless. The daylight's fading slowly. Good time with you is standing still. I'm waiting for you only. The slightest touch and I feel weak. I cannot lie from you, I cannot hide. I'm losing the will to try. Can't hide it, can't fight it. So go on, come on, leave me breathless. Tell me, tease me, until I can't deny this love and feeling. Make me long for your kiss and go on, yeah, come on. And if there's no tomorrow, and all we have is here and now, I'm happy just to have you. You're all the love I need somehow. It's like a dream, although I'm not asleep. And I never want to wake up. Don't lose it, don't leave it. So go on, come on, leave me breathless. Tell me, tease me, until I can't deny this love and feeling. Make me long for your kiss and go on, yeah, come on. And I can't lie from you, I cannot hide. And I lost my will to try. Can't hide it, can't fight it. So go on, come on, leave me breathless. Tell me, tease me, until I can't deny this love and feeling. Make me long for your kiss and go on, come on, leave me breathless. Go on, come on, leave me breathless. Go on, come on, leave me breathless. Go on.
Please help me in welcoming Malcolm Astley.
Thanks so much for that welcome. And it's the first time I've been to such an event where 3 towns join together. That's a wonderful sign. And that's the kind of linkage it's going to take to solve this problem. I thank you for coming and your concern about youth relationship violence, safety and prevention, and also healthy fear, a concept that I think it's important to keep in mind with our youth. Thanks to town coordinators, Amy Choyar-Valati, not bad, Meredith Shaw, Megan Samborski, and Jean Yentile, who helped organize the event tonight too. And student leaders involved for your work and for including me in your efforts to understand, address, and prevent intimate partner, dating, and breakup violence, all in the interest of safe and effective partnerships, and also safe and effective partings, which I think we don't talk about nearly enough together or with our youth, either in terms of relationships, but also in terms of life's path, which is generally a whole series of connections and disconnections. And we need to be, I think, much more open about that path. We need, in my view, to do a much better job than we have in training our youth and ourselves to slow down and to face the normal and often quite deep and confusing pain and confusion in general that we face eventually as we enter into relationships, and also cope with the inevitable endings involved with many of them. I think we need to be much more open about that with our youth. From the loss of a first stuffed animal when we're very young, to the death of the first goldfish, the loss of a family dog, cat, or other close pet, or the moving from a familiar and often dear home, school or neighborhood or region, or from a dear friend or home of origin, or later losing family members and intimate friends, or public heroes in our eyes, or wedded partners over time. Our lives can be seen as cycles of coming together and moving apart and trying to learn the skills needed to face, recognize, and cope with conflicting and often pain-filled events involved as we come together and let go. That's the story I think we need to provide to our children much earlier in life, not harshly and not all at once, but step by step. And sometimes the partings are quite against our wishes and wills. Just as important to learn to help look after those around us coping or trying to learn to cope with the same challenges, including the tough matters of dating and breakup violence, their causes, and more important, their prevention. All in the interest, finally, of positive, rewarding parts of relationships, though admittedly laced with pain at times for certain. We need to be frank about that. And also safe and effective partings and learning about finding new connections and new partners carefully as possible and learning from each exchange as possible. Two issues to cover first. First, the isms are, in my thinking, a vital related phenomenon to keep in mind. I see the isms as an enticing but false way to try to achieve worth and status and power by supposedly rising higher on a community or societal status ladder in order to lower someone else in terms of status so that we can feel superior and worthy. The isms, racism and then sexism, are well known, but there are many others when we stop to think about all the similar issues that bubble up in our day-to-day interactions as we and our youth search for sound and confident belief in their own value or worth on the social scale. A key point I try to make: we crave and seek being and feeling worthy. That's in us churning all the time. I think, and also connected, to feel worthy, I think, and also connected, and at times connected deeply. That's the other thing we crave, and we need to help our youth understand those powerful feelings, to feel worthy and to feel deeply connected. Continuing the isms list that is often flickering in the backs of our minds and hearts in our daily interaction as we seek to be of value to ourselves and to others, please consider heightism, voice tone-ism, high or low, wealth-ism, accentism, smartism, body shapeism, clothing isms, hair texturism or colorism, sportisms, beardism, regionalism, often tied in with voice accentism, and the list can go on and on. We take a chance when entering another region of our country, or really even just the other side of town, and think or hope that we'll be seen as equal or at least approaching equality in status. It's an ongoing challenge to be confident in one's own worth and to support others also in their efforts to think and feel similarly confident and to think of themselves as being of worth in their own eyes, but also in the eyes of others. That's part of the human search that I think we need to open up about much more with our kids. I hope we can use our experience this evening to strive on with dismantling the many isms in which we as people can become ensnared and separated in harmful ways from each other. As with the regionalistic red and blue marker designations and divisions to our harm, I believe, nationally, in separating the states instead of looking for, affirming, and emphasizing common good. We have so many such matters like these, I think, to learn to identify and to be cautious and caring and persistent in addressing so as to reduce the artificial and often deeply harmful divisions and walls between us, many built, I think, in efforts by youth and adults to establish a strong sense of identity and value or worth inside both our hearts and minds. I urge that we learn to examine our potential differences together with care and with the leaning toward finding common ground and acknowledging and accepting differences where we need to, as potentially enriching our conversations and our lives, our thinking, our debates, toward even more effective and more inclusive perspectives and better results in the end, I think, for all of us, and more caring in our stronger communities together. Successful such efforts for us and our youth will be part, I think, of important steps in reducing intimate partner violence. If we can't get over the isms, if we can't look for common good, if we can't support the notion of dignity in all people, we're in trouble. And this kind of pattern will continue, I believe. It's helpful and vital to acknowledge, I think, that we all seek to be, and this point I keep making, we all seek to be and to be seen as capable and valuable. And we can all use support to search for and find authentic ways toward creating such fulfillment and cheering others around us on similarly. Avoiding the false isms and their harm in separating us from what we have in common, and from supporting and mutually honoring the value of the core of each of us. Each of us is fundamentally precious. That's the starting point in my thinking to begin with. And we each build on that foundation together. At least we have the potential to. Second, I wanted to at least touch on early on the matter of the deliciousness of hate. Let's be open about it. It can feel terrific. It can make you feel like...
Sorry.
Nice to hear her. The deliciousness of hate, where our attraction to it may come from, and how to at least start on avoiding that false path also, as well as since little good can come of it, in my view. I can lean with a laugh toward finding solutions to irksome problems like the kind we're discussing tonight within country and Western songs. They soothe me at times. And I invite you to join with me in considering the words and thoughts that singer Lee Ann Womack emphasizes in her song, I'll Think of Reasons Later. I find her thoughts useful as well as a touch humorous. Her lyrics go this way as she talks about the girlfriend of her former boyfriend. I heard he was going to marry some girl from Denver. Then my sister came over, had the Sunday paper with her. There was the girl on the social page, looking in love and all engaged. We decided she don't take a very good picture. It may be my family's redneck nature rubbing off, bringing out unladylike behavior. It sure ain't nice to judge a stranger, but I don't like her. She may be an angel who spends all winter bringing the homeless blankets and dinner, a regular Nobel Peace Prize winner, but I really hate her. I'll think of a reason later. What Ms. Womack is cleverly getting at sideways, in my view, is that when we feel pain and loss and shame in relation to someone, we often react by making up reasons to put that person down and even actually harming them, instead of working on recognizing our own pain, seeking comfort, and extending caring and value to ourselves, and if possible, eventually to that other person. By holding strong to caring, by having the courage to care, that way we stand to outwit hatred, attractive as it may be in helping us falsely feel right and of value over someone else again. So please help the youth that you're in contact with and yourself ponder that path carefully as we face doubt in ourselves and find ourselves leaning toward hating someone, perhaps really due to our own worry that somehow we're not measuring up to what we want to be, and in fact, we can be if we learn ways to comfort ourselves. That's a key skill. Adjust our thinking and put our minds and hearts to it and take realistic steps, a step at a time, to build and feel self-worth, self-regard, self-respect, or self-love, if you can stand those slightly embarrassing words. Those are the directions I think we need to encourage ourselves and our children to move toward. Womack usefully points out that hate provides clarity, it eliminates ambiguity, designates a clear, if false, enemy, and underlines that we are not one of them. Womack really suggests we're kidding ourselves in order to reduce our pain and uncertainty about our own worth. I imagine you may be feeling a little unsettled and uncertain about these matters of pain and confusion in the face of a friend or of you turning away or involved in a friendship or romantic breakup. That word breakup is so powerful. Breaking up, whole things coming apart. So much what we don't want to happen. Maybe sad to contemplate these matters, but also I hope you feel a little hopeful, and that's understandable since you've come together to think about these things. Such feelings are often connected with an important first step toward new awareness and a new grasp and perhaps new hope about old, often hidden problems that folks have faced for eons. We always can be on a new frontier together. And having the courage to move toward improving how we deal with such matters for ourselves and also for those around us in pain or in hate in our communities. We need to be careful to learn to take care of each other in this process this evening and down the road. If my talk stirs up your own feelings or your concerns about yourself or a friend, a partner, or relative, please take time to check in with someone who's trusted and knowledgeable in your eyes, perhaps another partner, a close colleague or friend, a counselor or a supervisor, a favorite teacher of old, a clergy member, or a wise family member or a neighborhood sage. They're around. And also, please bear with me if I stumble in talking about matters that can set off my own deep caring and sometimes my tears, probably due to a form of post-traumatic stress syndrome I carry with me after my daughter's torture and murder. And also after my growing and new awareness of the wide prevalence of these painful undercurrents in all of our lives. If my tears come, they're good tears of caring. I encourage others to enter into them whenever they need to, and I do recover relatively quickly if you can stick with me. And I also note I'm going through and responding to the loss of my daughter 15 years ago, some intense but quite similar form of what each person, each of you, each youth with whom you have contact has gone through or will go through in a breakup or other important loss. That's our path, and we need to acknowledge that much more fully, I think. A loss perhaps in divorce or death, being cut from a team that's important to you, or just moving away on a perhaps exciting but also maybe hard and somewhat scary journey. I believe we need to learn skills and to establish new norms now, that is school and community values, to support each other in acknowledging and facing up to the challenges of breakups, and skills in ending or taking a break from a friendship for at least a while when necessary through healthy and thoughtful grieving. I don't think we talk enough about grieving. If we're going to care about something, we need to grieve in order to move away from it. Through healthy and thoughtful grieving and communication and seeking out and accepting good advice and support, we need to know, and our youth need to know, where is the help I can trust? That path also involves knowing how to support someone else who is grieving, as you get to do with me this evening, and for which I am grateful. And as I mourn or grieve much more consciously now than I did before, for each of the at least 11 additional male and mostly female Massachusetts victims whose names we read in a vigil in the neighbor town of Sudbury this past fall, victims who have tragically been murdered in Massachusetts by their largely by far male partners. From the national and state youth at risk survey information gathered every 2 years, we know that relationship abuse and violence is much more common than we would like to think. That's another book we have to open with our youth if we want them to learn to be strong and to learn to know when they can help. We know that 1 in 3 females and 1 in 4 males will experience significant violence in their lives. We know that such violence is initiated by both females and males and occurs in both heterosexual and homosexual relationships. We know that a small but alarming number of males take the violence to a much higher and deadly level, as in my daughter's case. And we know that male-on-male violence is an even much bigger problem that we're not even open to. It's wonderful that we are embracing knowing about the violence against girls and women. But boys and men learn that violence in their lives, and that's the violence they bring back toward girls and women. And if we don't help them address that and support them in addressing it, we won't solve the problem. That means we need to pay attention to and look at the causes of both kinds of violence in order to move to prevention and safety for you and the youth and others you care for, including your friends of all genders, and especially the potential female victims in your mothers, grandmothers, sisters, aunts, female cousins, and daughters now or in the future. I've gradually developed and also collected lists of warning signs of potential violence and harm that we can look for in relation to 4 different facets of relationships. Warning signs about the relationship, about what's going on between the two people. Warning signs of potential abusers who vary a lot. There's not one personality type. You need to be open to thinking it can be a variety of individuals. Warning signs in possible victims of abuse. And fourth, warning signs of breakups which are heading in a possibly dangerous direction. By knowing and talking about these signs as communities, we will all stand to be more caring, fairer, and safer together. I add that we need to try to put in place safe and trusted channels and clear steps or protocols for information about the warning signs to move. If people know things but don't share it with those who can evaluate it, we're not going to solve the problem either. Signs to move among youth first. They need to know the signs. Among parents and professionals then, and to move to trusted specialists in designated relationship support committees so that the information can be reviewed and help provided. That's the goal. When judged necessary, so that what happened to my daughter and her former boyfriend gradually does not happen in your 3 towns. And it's both members of the couple whose lives were wrecked. The goal is then, we need to ask what should have been in place in my daughter's high school in Wayland, and they've made tremendous progress on these matters, and what needs to be in place in Melrose, Wakefield, and Stoneham, and surrounding communities for prevention of and help with the potential terrible pain and losses and harm and costs involved. You know, keeping an inmate in prison costs about as much as sending the inmate to college. Let's go ahead and work on the college. It helps a lot in preventing recidivism, and I'll come back to that. We could save a lot of pain and a lot of money if we made progress in these areas a step at a time. I'll go over a number of warning signs in a few minutes, some that I hope you perhaps will have already noticed on your own or heard about in the video we just saw about my daughter and breakup violence. The video is also available on our website, Lauren Dunn Astley Memorial Fund, all one long word, without commercials at that website. If you submit some basic information, we have an agreement with CBS that we have to preserve it that way. It's also at times available on YouTube with commercials or on CBS with commercials. The version we have, you could watch without the commercials. We have estimates by now that it's been seen by millions of viewers across the world. The world, can you imagine it? It's trying to take steps together despite all the chaos we're in right now. There are steps to try to address these things. Take hope there, please. Please do have trusted company if you or your children see the video. It's jarring. I add as well that I think we have to be very careful these days not to increase pressure on our youth constantly through the lovely pictures online and in media, pressure to look happy and beautiful and popular and busy always. That pressure is ridiculous. We want youth to know, and to know that we know that it's what's going on inside of them that really counts. And we need to do a better job in providing safe places for youth to talk about and work positively on what's going on inside of them, including their questions, their wonderful questions, their worries and challenges, their wishes, their pain and fears, and interests of all kinds. Do you have safe places for youth to talk regularly and openly in your towns? Is a question worth asking. The state some years ago required advisory programs in high schools, which is a good idea. It allows children older students to meet once a week or once every 3 weeks. It's a start. They need regular places to talk safely about what they're concerned about. Lauren may be thought of as standing for the 3 to 4 victims, largely girls and women, who similarly die every day in our country, all genders, races, types of locations, and socioeconomic conditions. It's not in any one pocket. 3 to 4 every day at any given time in the town of Wayland. There are 20 to 40 restraining orders in effect where I live, suggesting there's concern that there may be violence taking place in that home. You may want to check the figures with the police for your own towns. For our country, the total murders of mainly girls and women, but also other genders, largely murdered by boys and men, adds up to about 100,000 so murdered in our lifetimes. The same number as that of the American soldiers who died in World War I. The fatality rate for males by males is much higher. We're not looking at that yet. We need to look much more carefully, I think, at what we're doing to our boys and young men and how to change the harmful training in our culture toward false value or worth through control, domination, and power over someone else. That does not give us value, but we watch continually on television those patterns enacted, trying to gain value by dominating someone else. It doesn't mean we don't need to know how to protect ourselves. We do. But we need to help everyone understand those drives underneath and how to take care of them. The first steps in solving a problem are in identifying it and agreeing it needs our new attention. I want to emphasize early on that I think the vast majority of boys and men find the patterns of violence against girls and women, other males, and other genders to be disgusting and repulsive. When I get to talking on a more intimate basis with any male, they hate it. They're scared about it. They want to do something about it, and we need to help them address it. The real challenge is in building the abilities of boys and men to act on their disgust about the violence, and with good old male virtues, even if shared also with girls and women, the virtues of courage, strength, caring, and creativity, to join with girls and women to take definite and safe steps to prevent violence and its hidden foundation of a search for self-worth, and the temptation then to impose power over someone else to try to gain self-worth. In terms of warning signs of relationships at risk, it slowly became clear that Lauren was spending increasing time in her boyfriend's home territory. It became clear that some of her friends were wary of him at times and saw him as somewhat distant and potentially angry. I don't think they knew what to do with that information except to step away, which of course did not prevent the problem. It became clear that the relationship involved more than the usual number of conflicts and breakups, and that the breakups were incomplete. It became clear later that Lauren was taking on too much responsibility for looking after her former boyfriend, and this is an important matter too. The caring doesn't stop when we break up, but we have to look after everybody's safety in this situation. Lauren was taking on too much responsibility for looking after her former boyfriend, kind as that act seemed to be, but was in fact dangerous. Breakup by cell phone, text, or email may be in fact the most appropriate, safest approach to breaking up, cold and abrupt as it may feel at first. It could be helpful to rehearse some brief, appropriate language that gets the point across of a need for a break, a rest, a pause in the relationship, or for the relationship to end for the time being. No long explanation is needed. No shame and no blame is necessary. Safe and private places to talk over reactions and new paths are important. Are there breakup support groups in your schools? Is another question to raise. The schools have an awful lot to deal with. I'm not saying that's simple, but we've got to set the priorities, and humans surviving together has got to be up there, I believe. It had become gradually clear that Lauren and her friends, his boyfriend's parents, and I did not know just how dangerous it is to see a former partner alone, especially near the time of a breakup or day of divorce. Those are the most dangerous times in relationships. I need to urge that you never see a partner alone after a breakup. Put simply, it's not safe. It's dangerous, and a good time to engage in healthy fear. Counselors should be advised of any warning signs seen as necessary so that extra support for either partner can be provided, and parents similarly advised as need be. The senior summer is an especially vulnerable time when most pairs break up. We don't talk about that, we don't surface it. Old support systems disappear rather suddenly, and it takes time to link up with new ones. It's a time both of excitement and also uncertainty and mourning, when we need to be sure networks of support and counseling phone numbers are circulated widely and openly. Check-ins need to be planned and expected, even if brief. How are the summer support systems in your towns is another question to raise with your community, especially for seniors. It's a time of great joy and excitement for them. It's also time for dread and anxiety among many. Second, in terms of warning signs of a potential abuser, it came out during the trial process that there had been several efforts at violent harm by Lauren's former boyfriend at several points in the relationship and his life, though the information was not being gathered and passed on. That's what I'm trying to pass on to you. The information wasn't passed so that experts could be alerted and help could be provided. Lauren's former boyfriend was discovered to have broken the tent pole at a graduation party where he was frustrated in not being able to see Lauren. It was discovered also that he'd punched a hole in the wall of his home out of anger at one point, and had broken the windshield of his mother's car after she picked him up at the graduation party when he had to be sent home. Again, the information did not move, and it wasn't collected so it could be assessed, probably not circulated, partly out of shame again, and concerns about privacy. But privacy shouldn't hide the fact that two people's lives are in danger. Experts need to know of the existing signs so they can help. Lauren's boyfriend had also threatened in detail to harm another boy years earlier when the boy showed interest in Lauren after one of the breakups. Her former boyfriend also repeatedly had threatened his parents with harm in the weeks before the murder, though that information, again, it didn't move to those who could think about it and provide help. But you did notice the parents tried to get him linked with a psychiatrist to help him. Finally, it came out in informal trial discussions that the former boyfriend seemed not to approve of his own biracial heritage, proud as many are and deserve to be out such heritages. That sign of potential shame or low self-esteem, it's the number one sign in the list in the Massachusetts State Information on warning signs. Shame is also a key concept that psychiatrist and head of Massachusetts Prisons Health Services for 20 years, James Gilligan, emphasizes in his own theory of the root causes of much violence, which he says is shame. He goes into depth on this view that much violence erupts from the pain of overshame, that's my term, in his two worthwhile books, Violence, and the second book, Preventing Violence. James Gilligan, Violence and Preventing Violence. A community read of that could lead to good progress. Overshame grows when we're challenged in our efforts to achieve and feel self-worth, self-respect, self-regard, self-love, including some humility. That topic needs to be introduced too. Love of the self doesn't mean you aren't humble at the same time. In terms of warning signs of being a possible victim of abuse, there were the repeated incidents of conflict and rejected breakups that Lauren experienced, that she was ending up attempting to spend so much time at his home has already been mentioned. A perhaps confusing warning sign was also that Lauren was utterly confident that the boyfriend was not a threat in any way. We have to teach kids that around breakups, vulnerability grows, and anger can be part of it that wasn't ever there before. We need to grasp together that often a relationship does not reveal danger until weeks or months into the relationship. It can seem fine, even magical at the beginning, we all know, but control over a partner can slowly increase. It takes real courage on the part of youth in intimate relationships to acknowledge the scary possible pain and anger that can arise from a breakup and a perceived rejection. And with such knowledge, to put kind caring aside for a time, trust the school, the peers, and the community to support the partner whom an individual needs to leave, and to acknowledge that the leaving partner may be in danger and should avoid unnecessary risky contact, such as by seeing the former partner alone. Finally, in terms of warning signs of an at-risk breakup, the former boyfriend became much less active, as you heard, was often alone, showed signs of deep sadness, which can be linked with deep pain, and also anger and rage toward the self or toward others, and especially a former partner. A number of the friends also noticed he was often easily angry and using beer and marijuana, often apparently to numb his pain, as many of our youth, and in fact any of us, may tend to do instead of finding safe ways to look at, share, and soothe the hidden pain and confusion that can be involved in a breakup or loss. The peers understandably turned away from him and his irritability, but if the peers had instead had the information I'm trying to share with you, been able to pause and think carefully, and to support each other to recognize and to share with adults these warning signs and pass them on to those who could understand what they meant in terms of pain and risk and could have intervened and helped, the pain, violence, harm, loss, and expense for so many could well have been prevented. I hope this important work this evening will empower you and your organizations and communities to know the warning signs. You've clearly already done a lot of work together. To share the warning signs when you see them, to have communication channels and specialists ready to receive the information, and to take steps so that intervention and help and safe places to grieve the real loss and rejection of the breakup can be provided. And self-worth, self-regard, self-respect, and self-love with humility can be preserved in both partners, both for comfort and support, and to educate for effective steps toward recovery and new paths and partners eventually, instead of toward pain, shame, rage, and violence. Stepping back now to look at the larger picture of abuse, it's clear that in terms of boys and men's violence against girls and women, for centuries we've left the challenge in the hands of girls and women and minority genders, largely alone. We should acknowledge their pain and isolation and rightfully thank them for their courage, strength, and persistence over thousands of years. We've often even left out any reference to boys and men in defining the problem. For instance, as social commentator Jackson Katz points out, he's a good one to read and also look up for YouTube videos. Katz emphasizes how we use the strange and vague phrases still: violence against women, or domestic violence, or dating violence. What's missing in each of these phrases? The boys and men. There's no person doing the action in all three phrases as if the violence is happening to the girls and women out of nowhere. The majority of us males also acted similarly in ignoring an issue of unfairness for more than a century in this country in relation to women's lack of the right to vote. This isn't the first time men have gotten a bit idiotic, but we're improving slowly, surely. Look at what we males finally did eventually, for there's hope there, for the 19th Amendment to achieve passage in 1919, giving women their due right to vote. Since men were the only ones who could vote, it depended on them to help out, and they did. The remnant left over from the leagues at the time in which men were involved are the leagues of women voters still active in all 50 states. We need some new form, a new form of men's and boys leagues now. Men's and boys leagues against violence against girls and women, perhaps initiated by fathers of daughters, and perhaps also aimed against the often undiscussed violence of boys and men against and received by other boys and men. We're at a similar point in history now, not about the right to vote, but about the right to be more free from violence. We can achieve this. We can see that when we stop to think how we've already in our history brought so many other forms of unfairness and harm to a stop in our country, including rule by a king or queen. We ended slavery. We ended women's lack of the right to vote. There's still after effects we have to deal with, but we did bring the slavery to an end. When my own mother was born in 1911, I still can't believe it, women couldn't vote. So hard to conceive of now. The ignoring of children with special needs, we're better at that now. Children suffering from abuse, we're better at that now, though we know we have further to go. The main point is we made so much incredible progress toward fairness and caring in our country. The question is, how can we continue our work together to enlarge our circle of caring and fairness, even in the face of such violence, and put in place sound steps to understand and prevent the violence? Concluding, you are precious. You are. All of our children are. Each of us is. Together we can fix this problem of dating and breakup violence just as we fix so many other human problems. And the White Ribbon Campaign, that's an international movement. We're slowly linking on these matters. We can, through careful, caring talk and growing self-awareness and self-respect, help usher in the age of mutual respect and interdependence. It takes courage to care because in caring, we take on the inevitable burden of necessary pain, either our own or those we are caring for. And grieving at loss and also in supporting others in their normal grief at partings so that the pain does not turn to deep self-doubt or overshame, my term, violence and harm. There should be no shame, no blame for a relationship ending, though we need to learn from the experience. The fit has to be good for both partners. And as we say in memory of Lauren and her sparkle and confidence, and in respect of the unique sparkle in each person, each of us, each of you, keep on sparkling. Keep on sparkling. Thank you. Thank you.
The youth from Wakefield and Melrose are going to lead us in the
upside down.
In the pledge.
Yeah.
So if you want to stay standing for the pledge.
Please repeat after me. I promise
I promise
to never commit, condone, or remain silent.
to never commit, condone, or remain silent
about men's violence against women.
men's violence against women.
From this day forward,
Stay forward.
I promise to be a part of the solution
I promise to be part of the solution
in ending violence against women
in ending violence against women
and all gender-based violence.
and all gender-based violence.
Thank you again to Malcolm Astley for sharing such a powerful and meaningful message with us tonight. Stories like this are difficult to hear, but they are also incredibly important. They remind us why our work matters and why continuing conversations about healthy relationships, prevention, and support is so critical in our communities. If tonight's discussion brought up feelings for you, or if you or someone you know may need support, please know that resources are available. Our team is here this evening and would be happy to connect with anyone who has questions or would like information about services and support. Thank you all for being here, for listening, and for being part of the effort to create safer, healthier communities. Have a safe evening.